You know that nightmare where you're drowning and reaching for help, but instead of a life preserver, someone tosses you a concrete block? That's exactly where the Vancouver Canucks find themselves right now, gasping for air in a center market so barren it makes the Sahara Desert look lush. When your team needs help, and the entire league knows it, what happens when there's simply nobody worth trading for? Welcome to the Canucks' worst-case scenario playing out in real time. The Vancouver Canucks aren't just exploring the trade market for a center, they're desperately scouring it like prospectors searching for gold in an abandoned mine. This isn't proactive roster management or opportunistic shopping. This is full-blown crisis mode, triggered by Filip Chytil's latest devastating setback. Chytil, the player Vancouver acquired to solve their center depth issues, is now likely dealing with another concussion, an injury that could sideline him long-term or worse. For a player with a concerning concussion history, this isn't just a temporary absence. It's a legitimate threat to his career. And for the Canucks, it's the kind of gut punch that transforms a manageable situation into an organizational emergency. General Manager Patrik Allvin finds himself in an unenviable position, needing to shore up his lineup down the middle while operating in a market that offers virtually nothing of value. It's like showing up to a restaurant starving, only to discover the kitchen is closed and all that's left are stale crackers. Frank Saravalli, reporting on his show Frankly Hockey, delivered news that should terrify every Canucks fan. The pickings are slim. Not just slim, practically non-existent. Elliotte Friedman, arguably the NHL's most connected and respected insider, confirmed what Allvin already knows. There's simply not much out there worth pursuing. They've been willing to give up young assets to make the right fit happen, Saravalli explained, but Allvin might have to consider some alternative measures, not players you'd be getting super excited about. Read between those lines. When an insider says you won't be super excited about your options, what he's really saying is, prepare to be disappointed. The Canucks are shopping in a market where the shelves are bare, and what little inventory exists is overpriced and underwhelming. Here's where the situation goes from bad to absolutely brutal. Every team in the NHL knows Vancouver is desperate. They know Chytil is hurt. They know the Canucks' center depth is paper thin. And in the cutthroat world of NHL trades, that desperation is blood in the water attracting sharks. One NHL executive delivered perhaps the most devastating quote of this entire saga when speaking to Friedman. When you're drowning, teams don't throw you a life preserver, they throw you an anvil. That's not just colorful commentary. That's the cold, hard truth about how the trade market operates. When teams know you're desperate, they don't help you, they exploit you. Asking prices skyrocket. Reasonable deals become impossible. And suddenly, you're faced with the choice between making a bad trade that mortgages your future or standing pat and hoping you can survive with what you've got. But wait, it gets worse. Ben Kuzma of the province points out something that should have Canucks management losing sleep. This crisis extends far beyond Chytil's absence. The problem runs deeper, starting with their supposed franchise center, Elias Pettersson. Pettersson's offensive spark hasn't returned after a shockingly disappointing 15-goal season last year. For a player of his caliber and contract status, that's not just concerning, it's alarming. But the issues don't stop at goal scoring. His 40.9% face-off success rate is borderline disastrous for a supposed number one center. In today's NHL, where puck possession is everything, losing nearly 60% of your face-offs is a massive liability that ripples through every aspect of the game. Behind Pettersson, the depth chart reads like a who's who of who's that. Ada Rady, Max Sasson, and Nils Amon round out Vancouver's center group, a collection of players that, with all due respect, hardly strikes fear into opponents. These aren't battle-tested veterans or emerging stars. They're depth pieces being asked to play roles they're not ready for, and the results speak for themselves. As if the situation wasn't complicated enough, Allvin is operating with his hands tied financially. The Canucks currently have roughly $2 million in salary cap space. $2 million. In today's NHL, where even mediocre players command significant salaries, that's barely enough to acquire a fourth liner, let alone a legitimate top-six center who can move the needle. According to Puckpedia, Vancouver's cap situation could improve dramatically by March, potentially growing to nearly $19.4 million in available space. That opens the door for a significant splash at the trade deadline, assuming quality players become available and the Canucks haven't already fallen out of playoff contention by then. But here's the catch: March is months away. Between now and then, Vancouver has to navigate a brutal schedule with a center depth chart that looks more like a liability than an asset. Every game matters, every point counts, and every loss while waiting for March to arrive could be the difference between making the playoffs and watching them from home. The Canucks GM finds himself walking a tightrope without a safety net. Make a panic move now, and you risk overpaying for a marginal upgrade that doesn't actually solve your problems. Stand pat, and you risk your season spiraling out of control while waiting for better options to materialize. Allvin's comments to Sportsnet reveal a man trying to project calm while internally screaming. The first job is to find a way to get through the next game. There's urgency, but we have to look at what makes sense long-term. That's GM speak for we're in trouble, but I can't make a desperate move that destroys our future just to fix a short-term problem. It's the right approach philosophically, but it's cold comfort for fans watching their teams struggle night after night. So, what's the solution? Unfortunately, there might not be one, at least not immediately. Vancouver's best short-term strategy might simply be surviving until better options become available. That means hoping Pettersson rediscovers his offensive touch and improves at the faceoff dot. Praying that their depth centers can overperform their expected contributions, relying on their goaltending and defense to keep games close while the offense struggles, staying patient, and not making a panic trade that mortgages multiple future assets for minimal present-day improvement. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but it might be the only realistic path forward for a team caught between desperation and reality. This situation exposes a fundamental truth about roster construction in the salary cap era. Depth matters, but so does timing. The Canucks bet on Chytil staying healthy and providing that crucial center depth. When that bet failed, they found themselves exposed in a market that offers no easy solutions. Every contending team faces adversity during an 82-game season. Injuries happen. Players underperform. Plans fall apart. The difference between teams that overcome these obstacles and teams that collapse under their weight often comes down to organizational depth and the ability to make smart decisions under pressure. Right now, Vancouver is being tested. Their center depth has been decimated. Their franchise center is struggling. The trade market offers no salvation, and their salary cap situation limits immediate options. How they navigate these next few months will define their season and potentially their franchise trajectory for years to come. The Vancouver Canucks are in crisis mode, searching for solutions in a market that has none to offer. Filip Chytil's injury exposed organizational vulnerabilities that can't be fixed with a quick trade or easy solution. Elias Pettersson needs to rediscover his game. The depth centers need to overperform. And Patrik Allvin needs to resist the temptation to make a desperate move that provides short-term relief but long-term regret. Sometimes in sports, the best move is no move at all. Sometimes survival is the strategy. And sometimes you have to trust that better days are ahead even when the present looks bleak. The Canucks are drowning, and the league is throwing them anvils instead of life preservers. Whether they sink or somehow find a way to swim will determine if this season becomes a cautionary tale or an inspiring story of resilience. What do you think Vancouver should do? Make a move now regardless of the cost, or stand pat and hope they can survive until better options emerge. I want to hear your take in the comments. Are the Canucks doomed, or is there a path forward nobody's seeing? If this breakdown gave you a new perspective on Vancouver's crisis, hit that like button and let's keep this discussion alive.